Hello world! Welcome to Code or Not to Code. I'm Mili Eva. I'm really happy to be here today. And as always, I'm here with Stefan. How are you doing, Stefan?
I'm doing great. We have 2 hours of C# ahead of us.
Yes, we do. We are continuing with building our .NET tool today, live on air, as always, with you guys. But yeah, before we get into that, let's have a look at what's new in the .NET world. We usually start with like having a little bit of a newsflash section, and we've got great news this time. If you, we have some really fantastic news for you guys. In case you missed Stefan's amazing webinar about mutation testing, which we're also going to cover in a later episode with you guys, then please go ahead and check it out. He was live at JetBrains. It was an amazing webinar. I was there as well, watching this time only live. It was really cool. I learned a lot. I think everybody actually quite liked it. The chat was like really active, and I think people were really happy with it. And obviously, you did an amazing job. So definitely go and check it out if you haven't already, because not only is it you learn something new, but also you get a bit of a sneak peek. And when we're doing mutation testing in our stream, you can help us out as well and code with us on that. Anything to add, Stefan?
I don't know. No, that was perfect. Actually,
How did you like it? How did you enjoy the stream, like the webinar?
It was fun. It was really fun. I'm doing this mutation testing talk like for 2 years now, and I started with a 10-minute lightning talk, and now it's like a full hour proper presentation. So this
Yeah.
I really saw this. I enjoyed it, watching it grow. Yeah.
Totally. Now, how was your experience with because it's not the first time you were a guest there. It was the second time, right, or the third?
Well, I never did a JetBrains webinar, but I've been at the JetBrains.net days.
That was it. Yeah. Okay. So it was your first time there.
There's actually for the JetBrains.net days. There's currently the call for speaker open.
Ooh.
So JetBrains.net days 2023 call for speakers. If you'd like to submit a session, because I find JetBrains events in general, they are perfectly organized and super fun to be at. And you also get a super nice speaker gift, such as I got something that fits my learning speed. C# for babies.
You must have made an impression.
As always, we are posting the links in the chat and in the description later in the video.
Go check it out. It was amazing. What other yes. Yeah.
Then also the next version of the .NET Community Toolkit has been released, which is a set of community functionalities that are developed by the community, but also Microsoft and .NET team members are in that group contributing to that high quality packages. And one of those additions is they made more features for source generators and also made them faster. And we're mentioning this here because the source generators, they are based on Roslyn, and eventually we will also do something with generators because I love them.
Nice.
Then we also would like to, I forgot to post a link. Then we'd also like to mention the .NET Foundation, which is an organization, a nonprofit organization that wants to keep the .NET ecosystem friendly and open source and thriving. And they have issued a survey about the state of the .NET ecosystem. So if you would like to help them out and give them your feedback, this is always highly appreciated.
Nice. Have you already filled it out? Or are you
No, I haven't. I'll do immediately after the stream. I'll keep the tab open.
Good. And yeah, so actually, Yeah, so this is part of our news, but also connected a little bit to our stream because I don't know if you've seen on our social media already. We're going to do 2 sessions back to back, today and tomorrow, because we then have to take a little bit of a break because 50% of us is going to the NDC in Oslo, which is also really, really exciting. Stefan has got 2 talks there. And like knowing him, I'm sure they're going to be super cool and really, really amazing. Yeah, you see the 2 talks there. It's the .NET 7 API diff and Let's Code an incremental source generator with Roslyn. So more Roslyn fun as well.
Yeah.
They're, I think they're going to be amazing. I can't wait. Can we see them afterwards if we're not attending at
They
somewhere as
they
well?
will be published on YouTube after. Well,
Yes.
most of the sessions are published by the NSC team afterwards. Well, takes a couple of months, but most of them are published afterwards. But since you said you're excited, I'm too, because this one isn't done at all yet.
You're a pro. You still have 2 weeks, we
I have
said?
2 weeks.
Two
Yeah, I
weeks?
have 2 weeks. That
So
should suffice.
that's more than enough time. And yeah, obviously there are loads of speakers there, loads of really, really interesting talks. I don't think I don't think there's any person who could just say, okay, there's nothing that interests me in that entire conference because it's so varied. There's so many people from all over Europe, I think, right? Come together and share
Also,
knowledge. It's great.
also some. I think there's also non-Europeans
Ooh,
there,
so
so it's quite
completely the whole world comes together in
pretty much.
Oslo
Yeah,
and shares knowledge. And yeah, it's also that is your second time there, isn't it?
second time that I'm in Oslo. Yes,
Yes. So, um, ooh, Nick,
Nick
wasn't Nick?
Chapsas is there. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Are you watching his YouTube videos?
yeah.
I do too. They are great source. They are wonderful.
Yeah, see, already found another talk apart from yours that interests me there. And I haven't even seen what he's talking about. But yeah, no. Anyways, that's news as well. Not just for the stream, but also for Stefan and for everybody who. Oh, I saw you. I saw a familiar face somewhere.
Yes. So, but I
Yay!
guess
There he is. Yeah. So absolutely, like obviously, if you're already there, if you're attending the conference, definitely go and check out Stefan's talks. And if you're not there, then enjoy with me, like because I won't be in Oslo, but I will definitely look at the recordings afterwards, so you can join me
cool.
on that. Cool. And also, as I said, like we sometimes we have like a semi-regular stream, I suppose, because sometimes life gets in the way, NDCs get in the way. So if you want to keep up with when we stream, what's going on, and also just like anything with just our news, kind of, please follow us on Twitter. And also, obviously, like if you have suggestions for the stream, stuff that you want us to build, stuff that you want us to try out, you can also connect with us via Twitter. We're always like really, really grateful for your feedback, and we love to connect with you. So please give us a follow. And yeah, I think are we ready to dive into our tool?
Definitely.
Good.
Definitely.
Right.
So
What's on the agenda? Or
I
where did we
yes,
finish
it's
last time?
so since last time I couldn't let my fingers off of the solution. I just had to do something. I didn't do anything significant to the logic, but a bit to the infrastructure.
Good.
So now our core tool program now is all the logic has moved into a separate assembly. All it does is now basically just directing to this other assembly so that we don't need to test this NuGet package. So that this project is all about infrastructure, how to create the package, how to publish the package, how to version the package, and so on. And all the logic is now moved in the CLI project, which will be the more or less entry point to our world, which then does command line parsing and setting up the MS Build workspace. And here we have now all the logic that we built in the previous sessions, where we set up MS Build. There is still quite some to-dos to do, but yeah, we're not done.
Yeah, one or two.
and then eventually calling, in our case, into the using counter, which still lives in the tools core project, which has all of our business logic, basically. And there we started last time with detecting. So we are trying to count all top level using declarations and want to avoid counting the using declarations of generated files. And this is where we started last time, where we found that if a file either starts with temporary generated file underscore or ends in designer.generated.g or .g.i.cs, where I think the viewers last time helped us what the I means. It stands for initialize
Yes,
component. Yeah.
good.
So those are auto-generated files. We don't want to count the usings because our globalizer later on, which should take those top-level local using declarations to shift them into a global, to a C#10 global using, shouldn't change generated files because they would be refreshed with the next generation. This wouldn't make all too much sense. And also we're trying to detect whether this document has an auto-generated comment at the top of the file or at the top of the document, which is another facility to mark a document as being auto-generated by some tool, so users shouldn't really edit them. And our tool should also ignore them. And this is where we left off. So let's run all of the tests. Well, not exactly, because I also shifted a little bit. No, not yet. But I thought about, since we will be needing the detection of auto-generated documents and code also in our globalizer later on. So I guess it would be good to move that into a separate file. But perhaps first, let's get our test passing, and then we can shuffle code around. So let's take. Excuse me.
Yeah. Did we expect them all to fail? Is that fine?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Yes. Perfect.
we aren't done here.
Yes.
So we have.
I can see some green. Perfect.
We have so the test that actually, let's jump into the file, which this doesn't work. Okay. So here are all of our tests, and the ones that we had previously. For example, we have one system using and then detect we have one system usings, or let's go to a more busy test where we have a couple of top-level statements in 3 documents, and then we accumulate and find all of the using declarations. They are still passing, but one of our new tests isn't. The one that's asking for auto-generated text. So perhaps let's have a look at the documentation. What we also had a look at last time is in this nullable reference types documentation, there is a section on what auto-generated code is. So we took care of file name starts with and file name ends with, but we still need to fully cover the auto-generated part, because this auto-generated comment doesn't necessarily need to be the very first line in the document. What we found out is, for example, in WPF, an auto-generated comment could look like this. So we have basically first any comment, and then in the second line or in any other line, we now have this auto-generated XML tag, which now marks the file is auto-generated or this document is auto-generated. But it has to be the first block. So for example, in this test, when we have using declaration first and then this comment, now this file is not, or this document is not auto-generated. So this should be false. This should not be auto-generated. And we now have to take care of that. Also, we have a little bug. If we pass in an, no, that's not the test, sorry. Is it that one? If we pass in an empty string, so if the document is empty, then we have a sequence contains no elements exception, because we do somewhere with, this is a link exception. We're doing we expecting that there is always text, but what if a document or a file in the project is just empty? Our tool would crash. We should avoid that. And I guess this would be perhaps the first test to fix.
Yeah.
To get this one green. So let's jump into account async and let's get this test passing. If we can take a look at where this test is crashing, and it's crashing here, because here we expect that there is always child nodes, which in this case it isn't. So let's try to rewrite that code to still have the tests passing, but that one to have all of the tests passing. Would you like to give it a try?
Yes, I can absolutely give it a try. But oh no, I'm here. Okay, good. I was just a little bit confused. I think I lost you slightly in the document. I mean, in the live share. Okay, but I don't know. Okay. So we have an empty document. We've found out where it's failing, but I'm not quite sure why it's failing and how to fix that. So I don't know where to start.
if the child node, this child nodes, the enumerable, or this collection that is returned, could be empty in case we have an empty document. But now, oops, sorry.
Yeah. Oh
but now doing first actually fails if this collection is empty.
It's empty. So it's better if we loop through it, right?
Yeah. I would exactly do that. An alternative would be we could do something like first or default, which returns the default value. In this case, then null. If no elements are found, if this collection has 0 elements.
Okay.
But the thing that you have mentioned, if we iterate through the list, would also fix the other test that we showed earlier, when the comment is, when the auto-generated tag that we are searching for, this one, is not exactly on the first line, but on the second or any other line. So iterating through it sounds like the best solution.
I still have a question about this first or default. I haven't quite understood why it won't fail. Because the default, what is the default?
That depends if it's a value type or a reference type. Since the child nodes collection that we're having here is a syntax node, which is a class, this is a reference type. And the default of a reference type is null. So what we now actually get here is also a warning, because in case of this child node is empty, first or default will return null. And this is why we now have to annotate this syntax node with null, because it could be null. In the case that the document is empty, if there are no child nodes, this will return null. If this would be let's say an integer collection, so something that is a struct or a value type, then default would be the default value, because value types always have a value. In the case of int, that would be 0. If it was a Boolean, that would be false. And then depends on the default of the respective value type.
And can we jump back to the test? Because I'm not quite sure why the test doesn't fail when it gets null.
So what we had previously is first. And first will actually, I think the documentation also says, it doesn't say, well, not the inline documentation, but it actually, if we go to the online documentation, it should actually say that it throws the invalid operation exception if the sequence is empty. And this is exactly
null
what we're
isn't
running
empty.
through. Excuse me?
Null is not empty?
No. So
Okay.
child nodes is, we see there is no question mark. This will always return an I enumerable. But this in I enumerable could be empty.
Okay. Yes?
Because an I enumerable is basically 0 to n elements. It could
Yes.
technically contain an infinite set of elements, or nothing at all. That's the range that could be in.
Okay. And our test can not handle that.
Well,
No.
our production code now creates an empty document. Well, no,
Yes.
our test code creates an empty document, which now has no child nodes. There are 0 nodes, which means there is no first element. And this
Element.
is why it fails.
Okay. Yes. It has no child node. There is no thing, and that's why it fails. But now with the, I'm still a little bit confused. If any of the viewers are not confused and would like me to move on, then we can move on. But I still don't understand why it can handle the first or default, but not
So if we
just the first that's
now
empty.
if we do first to default, this
Mhm.
now if the I enumerable does
Yeah.
not yield any elements, so if it's basically empty, then it will not throw, but it throws the default value instead. In our case, since this is a reference type, null.
Okay.
So
Yes.
so this will be null in the case of if the collection is empty. But if the collection, if this I enumerable yields at least one element, then this will not be null, or at least it won't be. Well, it could be that somebody writes null in the dictionary,
Mhm.
but well, if you think about this, this I enumerable could be backed by an array, not necessarily, but it could be. And if we
Okay.
have a new syntax node array with 0 length,
Mhm.
now having this default or first would throw because there is no element,
Mhm.
and first or default would return null. But if I have at least one element, let's put 2 elements in. Let's say this is a, I'm not sure if I can use a syntax node. No, I can't. But let's say I just pass in 2 nulls in there because it's a class I could be. Now with first or default, I would actually get, so now, well, let's say it like this. If we do first now, we have 2 elements, so there is a first element. Now this will not throw, but we will get this first element, which is
Yes.
null. So we now basically extract this null. So again, we have null. But it isn't, because this child nodes, this
Mhm.
syntax node here, it is not annotated with a question mark. So we can rely on the API that the elements itself in this collection are never null. So we will
Okay.
always have valid syntax nodes in this I enumerable that this child nodes returns.
Mhm. Okay. I'm happy with that.
And
Okay.
we
Yeah.
could now either do a first to default and check if
No.
it's not null, or we do the iteration part
We'll
and basically hit
kill
2.
2 birds with 1 stone. No, hit 2 birds. I always say kill. But it's not right. It's not right. Makes me sound so aggressive. Yeah, shouldn't get on my bad side. I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. No, let's see if I can do actually anything. So okay, we instead of this, we loop. But I'm not gonna delete it because I'm most likely gonna firstly write something really stupid and then, we
No,
can always fall back to that.
you know what? Maybe I made a mistake. No, maybe
Ooh.
did have I? No, I think let's see. I'm not entirely sure. Let's see. Let's see if it works.
Okay.
We have to test. We have to test that confirm if it
Okay.
works.
So it's a for each loop because we're going through, yeah. Ooh, I can't for each. For each, for each. Okay, I got it. Sorry. Sometimes, like when you in live share, because you can see my merely Eva popping up and I can see loads of other stuff popping up. And then I can't see what I'm typing. And then
Oh,
I'm like type blind. I'm not, I can spell for each. um, actually, it's that's not right, isn't it? We want to go for each child node in compilation unit, right? Child
Right.
node in compilation unit. Okay. Good stuff. Good start. Strong start. Yes.
So not the compilation units, but the actual child nodes.
For each child node in child nodes. Yes, that makes sense because that's a for each loop, and that makes sense. Cool. And is it? Yeah. Does that work? What is it with spelling? Should we spell?
So it should
And not
be.
spell capital or.
We could just inline it. We could just move this code and just inline it in this for each.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. And it's still red. Why? Syntax node does not contain a public instance.
So I'll now get rid of the first because we don't need the first anymore.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah, that was the problem.
Now we go through all the child nodes. Okay, cool.
Okay. We go through them
Actually,
and
actually I was wrong, was I? We need to get the first. We need to get the very first element.
Oh, can we? Why?
I'm wondering, does the compilation unit has a... That's the root. Does the compilation unit... Maybe... I think we need to iterate the leading trivia. Okay, I'm not sure. Actually not sure. Let's see where this goes. We have to test.
Why? Okay. So the leading trivia.
I think I'm not confusing myself.
I'm not confusing myself as well. Okay.
Let's just finish the thought, and then we have the tests that confirm whether it works or not.
Okay. And then if
I guess we have that already, so we can maybe we just move that block in that for each because we have to check if that's the leading trivia already.
If the down here, yeah.
So no. I would say let's move this entire block into the for each.
This whole entire. Copy pasting. Just guys, get ready. Cut it. Oh, even this is like very difficult stuff for me apparently. Okay. Yes. First
cool,
try.
Then
I'm learning.
I'm gonna rename the nodes here. So we check, do we have a leading trivia? And if we do have a leading trivia, then we grab the first element of that list. But I think this is, at this level, we now need the for each loop. Because I think this one, now if we jump to the test, should be, let's go to the more, should be basically, now we are here. We're basically, so this is our leading trivia, I think. Well, this is actually a trivia list. So this contains of multiple lines, of multiple single line comments. So I guess this is at this level where we need the for each loop now.
So we need 2 for each loops? Because we also wanted to get rid of the...
I don't think we need the first one actually, do we? Can we?
Then we need first the default there.
Because what I now found, because the compilation unit also has leading trivia. Maybe use it from the compilation unit. So maybe we really don't need this loop and just get that from the compilation unit. Maybe that's the move.
Okay. And we also don't need these, right? And then this one as well. And then something's wrong with formatting. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so we just ask a question. If this compilation unit has a leading trivia, then we get the leading trivia. We have,
and this now actually is it's a syntax trivia list.
Yes.
So this in our case now, I believe, contains all of these. So this is now, I think this is now the level where we need to iterate.
Okay. Okay, fabulous. If is the okay, now we have in for each, and now I can actually read my writing and I can actually spell it. And it's suggesting I'm like this is you guys know this by now. I always go sort of like autocomplete and then see what happened and change it. So for each why common trivia? That's not what we need, right? We need for each trivia in this no for each trivia in this list trivia, right? What is what is this then?
So this is like the first. So here we have a list of trivias.
Yeah.
And this is just the first element. I don't think we need this first element anymore. So let's iterate through the list of trivias.
List. And we just call it list in list.
Perhaps if we call it
for each.
It's called syntax trivia list. I'll rename it into trivia list. That's more revealing.
Okay, that was quick. And what are these? What are the okay? So for each trivia in trivia list.
This is then a trivia, yeah.
For each
now
trivia.
we actually have a syntax trivia, yeah.
Okay, and then we have to change here as well, right? No.
Well, I think this needs to nest then in the for each, because we check then every trivia whether it's a single line or multi-line.
Okay. So the for each needs to go outside, right? Yeah. Okay. Got it. See, we get there in the end. One day, guys, I'm gonna be good at this stuff.
So formatting, yes.
Yep. Shouldn't have deleted those. Oh, did you already do it?
No, I
we're
haven't edited
missing
yet.
one.
I think we're missing one, yes.
Okay, where did it go? Okay, perfect.
Cool.
Okay, so now we're going through each trivia in the trivia list. We check if it's a single line trivia or multi-line trivia, multi-line comment trivia. And then we have this check whether it starts with auto-generated or not. But that's actually not quite right, is it? Is that
I don't
right?
think so, but let's have a look if what the test says. Oops, that's this test. This test. So we have here a simpler test. Let's get that running first, and it doesn't yet. So it still finds, it still sees, it finds 4 systems. So this, I guess because there is a space in there. But this space is kind of optional. This could be one space. This could also be many spaces, and it's still a comment, or no space at all. So I think we need to break free of the space.
Okay. And so, but the only thing that never. Okay, cool. But does it always have this is greater than sign before, or can there also be a space like here?
I believe so. I think, is it valid HTML if there is no, I'm not sure.
Or can it just go contains or something?
But
or
I
is
guess
like
I
sort
think,
of like, yeah.
I think we can assume that this will be there without a space, because taking a look at the documentation, it really says we put auto-generated or auto-generated in a comment at the top of a file. So I think this block. So I think this is, it has to start with a less than symbol and an A without any spaces in between. Yeah, I think we can assume that.
Okay. Symbol names in English, fabulous. Okay, so so I can actually, okay, so if I have like something that's not like starts with, but because we don't know if what exactly it starts with, like dash dash space, so let's see what options we have. You can't see my options. I can see all the options. Oh, now you can see as well. Ooh,
We get a lot because we have
we've got
link.
contains.
Contains? Contains sounds great.
Contains, and then contains this,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do the same thing here. And same thing. And in a multi-line comment, it's similar, isn't it? What is it in a multi-line?
Should be the
So
same.
so this is also, there could be like a space in between here, or
Yeah.
multiple, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. Ooh, that didn't work. So something like this, and we need contains.
Cool.
Cool.
Let's run the tests. Oh, actually, we now have the one that failed originally, no longer fails. The one where we
Which
pass
one?
in null, empty.
Yes, perfect.
No, hold on.
Oh
Sequence
god.
contains no elements. Why is this still showing? Because in the test explorer it shows it's green, but it doesn't show here because because I'm on the wrong target framework. There we go.
Oh.
Yes. Okay, so that's green, but the other one is still failing. It still finds. No, let me run again just to make sure. Because we still find all the system. System.
How come?
I am uncertain. Maybe to full string is the wrong. I'll start a debug session. Let's debug into this code and let's see where we go. My test explorer is over there. Let's move it in here. Oops.
Oh, that's funny that it shows.
Want to move that in here? Yes. Oop. Okay. Let's see. What does trivia full string return? Okay. And we check if it contains. Oh.
Why? Ah, I think I saw it. Maybe potentially.
Take a look at the test again.
Yes, I have an idea.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Yes, because if you go to the the stuff that we sort of put in, yeah. So we not only have like spaces, random spaces at the beginning of it, but also at the end. So I think we need to take that out as well. So not only take the, so maybe we can just check for like auto-generated like this, right? Oh, even without that, or with it? I'm not sure.
So I guess so that basically we can get rid of the second one, right?
Yeah.
If we check for these.
Yeah. Good shout. Gone. Oh, and then the or doesn't make any sense either. Okay.
I'll close the comment, the line here. Okay, cool. I'll apply the same for the second line as well. Or for the multi-line trivia as well. And let's see where this is going. We're still failing. Okay, but we still find the I'm totally uncertain. Let's debug it again.
Okay.
So we do go into this. So because we have leading trivia, we get the trivia list, which contains of a single line comment trivia and this auto-generated comment. But we continue here. So that's actually. Oh yeah, okay. Because we continue this loop. I think our code is not
breaking the loop.
Yes.
Oh. Classic.
It's still
Classic
assuming
Eva written
only the auto
loops.
loop. I
Fabulous.
didn't see it at all.
Yeah, but never mind. I think you would have just done it like on instinct, muscle memory. No. So continue, and then wait. Okay, true contains auto-generated continue and else return. What is it?
But I guess you mentioned it already.
Break.
Well, we still need to continue this loop because we still want to check the other documents.
Okay.
We actually have a loop within a loop. And you actually
Ah,
mentioned the keyword already.
did I?
Yeah. What did you say? We want to out of the
Break.
loop. Yes.
We want to break out of the loop. And we want to break out of which loop?
It's break. So rather than continue, we need to use break in order to get
Ah,
out of this.
yes.
No, hold on. Then we break out of this loop, but we still wouldn't. No, this wouldn't work either, would it? Hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess we need to. Okay, I think we need to put this because we need to continue. If we break out of this loop,
Yeah.
we would still do that, and we shouldn't do that. So I guess we need to move this into a method. I think this makes it way easier if we move this into a method, and then can return true and false. And I guess maybe that's the part now where we can refactor this.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and grab this code
Yes.
and move it into a new type, the Roslyn utilities type, where it's currently nothing is implemented. We have a method which says is auto-generated, takes in the compilation unit, and checks does it have an auto-generated comment. So rather than throwing, I'll insert that here. And now I'll rename parameter here. And let's now return true if we have an auto-generated comment.
Okay. So if contains auto-generated, then return. Sorry, what did you say? True? Yes.
Let's return. Yeah. So we check, does this have an auto-generated comment? And I guess the other one at 35 as well.
Uh-huh.
And if we can't find any auto-generated comment, then return false at the end of the method.
Yeah, at the end of the method here. You already no. Yes. Here, right? Or one above. Yeah, that's also
False. So we don't have a. If you don't mind, I'll put it into a new line. So we now check. So if we don't have any leading trivia, then we just immediately return false.
nice.
So that looks all right. Now let's give. Also, and now we need to call this, right?
Oh yeah.
So this is the Roslyn utilities, and let's say if the Roslyn utilities, how did I call it? I need to add the using is generated code, and this takes the compilation unit. And if it is generated, now, since we are now in this loop, we can now have the continue back.
Okay.
And now I'm curious if that solves the test.
I'm confident.
It does.
Yes.
Cool.
Easy. Perfect.
And
I also like this. It's sort of it's nice to move it all to the method and then just call the method and you can kind of it's much more readable. It's like if this is readable, continue. If this is readable, if this is generated, auto generated, continue.
and also we're gonna need this logic again in the globalizer later on. So it's good to have this in a separate component. Would you also like to move
Yes.
if the document starts?
Yes.
In the meantime, clean up the code.
Okay. We need the wait, sorry.
Basically
You
grab
want me to
no just
not all of this?
just the if check that for the
Okay,
document names.
Yes, and
into the Roslyn utilities type.
And has auto-generated comment. That's is there like a separate method for that, or is it like
yes? It's the is generated file
generated
name.
file name. Yes, nice.
So I'll get rid of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Oh,
My formatting.
no, that's not. Yeah, that's the tool. I think if you paste it via live share, it doesn't auto format.
Yeah,
It seems
it's not my fault this time.
not at all.
Usually it is.
No.
Okay. Why doesn't it like the name?
Because we need to now we need to return because we don't return anything. So again, if it is an
Okay. So
auto, if it is a generated file name, let's return true, otherwise false.
um, return true, and otherwise, and we're doing this. Oh, this is already. Did you insert this line? Because we return false here, right?
Mhm.
Yes. But this is also not nicely formatted, right? This belongs here. No.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Easy.
And now let's call this method. So let's go to the counter and say, basically bring this if back here. If wasn't utilities dot is generated code, we pass it. If the document is generated, then we continue. Oh, oops, sorry. Yeah. You're right. Thank you. And let's see if the test is still passing. And also now, because we prepared this a little bit off stream, this other set of tests. So we have now quite an extensive set of tests that checks whether a file is auto-generated or in cases that it isn't auto-generated, and also have different variations of this auto-generated comment. And let's see if these are passing. They were here, yes. So let's run these. And okay, so the is generated
code
file name is passing, but what about the generated code? We have all of them code. Oh no, that's the attribute, sorry. This one.
Yeah.
So we have two failing. Okay, this is now, I guess, not the easiest to decipher. So the one where we have comment, this one, I believe.
Okay.
Those two are failing. So they are passing. That's good. So we don't have a comment, and then we don't have a comment as the first node. But what about these? I'm actually not sure if I thought in the beginning, like if we have a blank line in between. Now this is not auto-generated. I thought like only if we have something like this, now it should be auto-generated.
Okay.
But I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure what the correct approach is. If this would be, if we have like any, because this is rather simple to this example above, but the only change is that basically having an empty line in between. And I'm not sure if this would mean, if this should be considered auto-generated or not.
But why would it not be considered auto-generated?
I'm actually not sure.
Well, because like what's the like as if okay. Now I'm just trying to think of like an example of like a file where this would occur, where you'd have these tags but not mean them.
I'm taking a look. So what does the doc say? Put auto-generated or auto-generated in a comment at the top of the file. It can be on any line in that comment, but the comment block must be the first element in the file.
Okay.
So I thought that this is like a comment block, and this is a second comment block. Just as this, we have one comment block and another comment block. So this is how I interpret it. I may be wrong.
Yeah.
But this is how I see it.
No, but you may be right. Yeah.
And
it must be in the first comment block. It can mean any line, but it must be in the first comment block. Yeah.
How can we?
I think in that case you're right.
Fixed. Maybe let's do let's step through.
Okay.
This now let's step through this one.
Yep.
Actually, not sure. This may be wrong, but we later on we could making it less strict
Is easier,
is
yeah.
is easier than making it stricter. Yes.
Yeah, we're very strict people, so we should like uphold that.
So we get a trivia list, and we have we have a single line comment trivia, then we have end of line trivia, and then another single line comment trivia. So maybe we can detect if that it has to be contiguous. So if there is between the first single line comment trivia and the actual single line comment trivia that we seek, if there is anything non single line comment trivia in between, then maybe we shouldn't mark it as or detect it as generated.
Okay.
And
So the test is right, but our code is wrong.
let's assume that our test it may be wrong, but let's currently assume that the test is right, and we could change it later if it turns out that our
Okay.
test is wrong. But how do we?
How? Yeah. So why
if we
does it?
have,
Mhm.
go on.
No, I was just wondering why it would assert it to true, because
Well, we find the first element,
yeah,
which is a single line comment trivia,
yeah.
but then the next line isn't. So in case of we don't hit any of these ifs, then we just then we just continue the loop.
Okay, so we
So
need to
maybe
break here.
if it's neither,
Ooh,
then we
okay.
say false.
So just like else? Is there an else?
Yes, that's a yeah. Let's do an else.
I don't think we've ever. Oh my god, sorry. Because I can see the stream and I can see my screen, and it's sometimes not really in sync. It's quite funny. So else. Um, do I have? Do you need a? I don't need a like a. I can just go like this, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Else return false.
And I'll also
And then
change this to an else if. So we now have if the
oops. Yeah,
first one is a single line comment,
you're right.
or the first one is a multi-line comment. If it's neither, then we false. So
And then do we still need this down here as well? The return false?
yes, because if we comment that out, this wouldn't compile anymore.
Okay.
Because in case of we don't have any leading trivia, we
Yes,
still
of
need to
course.
return something.
Cool.
Because having no leading trivia would mean we immediately start, for example, with a using declaration, and then it's not generated code.
Yeah.
And we still have one failing. No.
No, it's okay.
Now, not the long one is not this one is failing.
Okay.
Is it?
Is
Yes.
it?
This one is failing because
Okay.
why? I don't know. Oh, maybe we have the new line, isn't it? I guess it's the new line.
What?
Because our trivia list
Yeah.
has end of line. There is singular end of line trivias in it. And I guess we need to account for these two.
What? Sorry. Sorry. I don't get it. We have okay, so this is the
So the first line is this.
is this? Okay.
And then the second trivia in the list is an end of line
End of line
trivia,
trivia.
which is at
Yes.
the end, which is basically a new line at the end of this line. And then we have the other one. So because this is not a multi-line comment, we now break out.
Of
So I
the
guess
thing.
we need to see if it's an end of line trivia,
Okay, that's easy.
but only one. But yeah, let's see.
I would just, I mean, maybe I'm thinking too simply, but we already have like an else if. We can just be else if it's a thingy. So else if, what is it? trivia dot is kind, right?
Mhm.
And then is it also just like syntax? Oh, syntax kind. Oh, I always like, for everyone, when I'm offline, I can type actually really fast, but it doesn't. I don't know how. Oh, what happened? I don't know why. Like, the speed just slows down so much when I'm on the stream. So stop
Is live
judging
share
me.
lagging a little bit?
No, no, I'm
Yeah.
just not doing anything. Oh, wait. Oh, am I breaking off or something?
No, you're not. I
Oh,
was wondering if if there is some issue.
and I can I'm just seeing what kinds there are,
Is,
because what is it called? End of line
and is
something,
there an
right?
end of line? You could all, yeah.
End No, end of directive. End of file. End of line trivia. Easy.
Mhm.
Found it. Nice.
And if it's
Um,
that, then
then
we basically do nothing, do we?
then we do then we want to.
I guess that's fine because in that case we don't need to do anything. So now this test is passing, but now another test is failing.
I'm so confused. But sorry, I'm a little confused. Why
Okay.
do we not have to do anything?
Because in that case we still want to. Well, we could do continue to
Yes,
basically
I think we
to
should
make it
do
explicit,
continue.
but without that it would be the same because we would just continue the loop anyway. But
Okay,
but
but we
but this
don't.
this would make it now explicit.
Yeah. So we don't go, if this is happening, we don't go into the else return false.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes,
So we
fabulous.
continue looping,
Okay.
but we still have we now
Two
have two
failings.
failings. The
Okay, this is
one
now
which
going in the
starts with
wrong
comment.
direction. Sorry, what?
So it's this one failing,
Okay.
and I don't know why. Let's take a look.
Yes.
I always click live share rather than test explorer. So our trivia list looks like this. We have a multi-line comment trivia.
Comment.
Then we have an end of line trivia.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have our, why does this fail? Okay, let's see. So
Ah.
it's an multi-line trivia. It doesn't contain. Oh, because we already went in here. And now we don't. Okay.
Okay, easy.
I think
So
we
we
need
do
these
another check.
checks. Do we need these checks in here in this multi-line comment trivia? Guess we need it in here because in case it is. No, hold on.
Yeah, actually.
Or do we just need to do this check first?
Sorry.
No,
Which
wait.
check?
No, wait.
What?
No, hold on. No, I thought. No, I just had a brain. Never mind. Let's go again. I did something wrong. I didn't loop the next item. So let's have a look again. That was my bad. We have a multi-line comment trivia, end of.
No, but it's the
Trivia.
same.
So we
So we
go,
go
yes,
in
we
here.
multi-line. We don't find it. That's cool. Now we have the next. Now we have the end of line trivia. So we jump into the end of line.
Here.
So we continue. Yes. And now we have the multi-line trivia that is auto-generated. But we do return true now. Why does this test fail?
What? Okay.
Because we
expected false.
Ooh, we didn't. Okay. So it's. Okay. So maybe we cannot detect this case. So
Why?
maybe those tests are indeed wrong. Where are they? Here they are. So because this and that is the same. Well, okay, we could now do something like checking, hey, does this really start with these characters? But maybe that's a bit too tedious, and maybe that's because we have, this is a multi-line comment, end of line,
Mm-hmm.
multi-line comment, which
Mm-hmm.
is actually the same as this, because here we have a multi-line comment
Yeah.
trivia, then we have a new line, and then we have another multi-line comment trivia.
It's
So it
annoying.
doesn't really mark whether this is a new block or something. Not sure if we could detect that. Or we say, I'm not too sure about that. If those two tests that are currently failing, is it
Mm-hmm.
these two, if they're actually correct. I'll do some homework and
Okay.
find that out. But if they are incorrect, then we actually got it running and all the tests are passing. So let's assume
Okay.
they are passing. I'll comment these out for now, because now we have all green.
Okay.
Cool.
Should we add it to do somewhere so we don't forget?
That sounds great. To do. Are these tests correct?
Cool. Okay, so we
have
everything's green. Perfect.
one left. One is still red. That's a new
Oh.
one. We haven't discussed that one yet. So
Yeah.
there's also this attribute. There is in system code DOM compiler namespace. There is the generated code attribute. For example, source generators. If they create new types and new methods, they attribute this generated code with the generated code attribute. And we don't want to tackle code that is attributed with this attribute either. Now, on using declarations, we cannot attribute using declarations with that attribute. However, we could attribute an entire assembly with that. So this would be an entirely generated assembly. This may be a little bit of a contrived example, but for completion, we don't want to deal with that. So we can now find if this assembly or this compilation has this attribute. And if it does, we consider it auto-generated. But if it doesn't, like having this attribute on a type, it's not marked via the assembly, so it's not an entire assembly, it's just this one type, then it's not auto-generated. So I guess this is now the next move to implement.
Okay, so we're basically just checking for assembly? No.
So, well, assembly is the compiled thing, but before it becomes an assembly, it's within the compilation. So the compilation should have the information whether it has this attribute or not.
Okay. I already see there's something commented out.
This is basically just a reminder, because we will be needing this string.
You just added that. Okay, I was just assuming.
We'll be needing
Cool.
this string. Just had it as an example. I'll get rid of that, and I'll put it up here as a reminder.
Yes. Okay, so we get the compilation into this method, and then we have to check again. Is this again a for each loop? No. What do we? It's an if statement, isn't it?
Let's see. We can do a control statement afterwards. Let's see what the compilation has. Because the compilation should have
compilation.
Something like, in order to find out whether this attribute is on the assembly or not, it should have something like that.
Okay. Dot. Oh, I don't get anything.
There's a typo. I fixed it.
Thank you. Okay. So now I get stuff. I get assembly.
Assembly sounds promising, yeah.
Oh, assembly name as well.
And I guess that would be a string. Yeah, that's a string. But the assembly sounds promising. And now we would like to check if this assembly has any attributes.
Dot attributes. Get attributes. That looks good.
That sounds good.
Attributes.
Cool. Get attributes returns an immutable array of attribute data. Okay. Now we need to find out if one of these attributes, or let's say any of these attributes, is this one attribute that we care about. This, okay, well, I marked it up here, this generated code attribute.
Contains?
Contains does this work on INU? No, contains would work on a list or on a string, but it doesn't work on an array, I believe.
Is kind? No.
But there is, I guess, if I phrase it like, let's see if there is any attribute
Ooh,
that fulfills our need. So there should be an
any.
any.
There's an
Mhm.
any of type.
I
What
wonder,
was it?
is this on the link? Yeah, this is on the link. And we can
Oh,
now write a lambda, like
ooh.
because this any, oops, this any now has, well, if we don't call it with anything, then it basically checks, does it have at least one element? But there
Okay.
is also an overload that where we can pass in a predicate, which is a func, which is we can put it as a lambda to see if one of these attributes fulfills our needs.
Okay.
Have you written a delegate before?
No, but I will have in 10 minutes.
So it's basically very similar to, well, there is different syntaxes how to write the delegate, but basic
Syntaxes.
syntaxes or different grammar maybe is the correct word. So there is different grammar you can use, but basically you with C#10 I think you can write it basically like you would write any method, but just without name. So what we could do is, because this predicate, this any predicate, it requires to return a Boolean.
Okay.
And because, okay, let's have a look at the func. The func is now a delegate that has the first T is an in, so that's the parameter to this anonymous method, and it has an out, which is the return value of this anonymous method. So what we now want is basically a method. If I would write a regular method, what we want is a, well, optionally, it doesn't need to be static, but we could mark it static. No, let's not mark it static. We want a method that returns pool. It doesn't have any name, so we basically omit the name and has as an input this attribute data. So we can say attribute data. And then as a body, as a lambda, you don't write with a body, but you write with this arrow. So we can write this arrow and now do our logic, like say something like data dot whatever data has. It has this attribute class that we want to inspect. And so it's basically writing a lambda is very similar than writing a method, but without a name.
Okay.
So we require a bool returning method.
Okay.
Or a bool returning lambda. So you basically you can write this now inline in
Inline,
this
okay.
any, yeah. And this
So
will then get translated to this func delegate by the compiler.
oh, a method though. So I'm a little bit confused now.
That's okay. So first we write the return.
Okay.
The return type.
Blue.
Blood. Okay.
Killing two birds with one stone again. Yes, bool, and then
we can write in parentheses the type and the name of this input
in
parameter.
Parentheses.
Like exactly like we have in an
yes
parameter list of a method. And this is now, I totally forgot the type again. It's oops, what is it? It's attribute
something
data.
attributes data. Okay,
I'll paste it in.
Data, and then we have the little arrow.
Yeah, but that comes after the closing parentheses.
After the closing parentheses. Yes.
And now we can write our logic. So we can now write data dot. And we want to get a hold of this attribute class.
Yep.
And we want to equal that with the type that we are searching.
Is equal, is external is sealed, equal. Does it not have anything? Equals, no.
Equals, yes.
Yes? Okay, cool. Equals, and then...
But what do we need for this equals? I'll just put in null for now, which will be quite invalid. But where do we now get this? Where do we now get this I named type symbol from? And I would have never figured this out on my own, but there is a wonderful blog post by Gérard Barré, if I pronounce it correctly, who and which is talking about how to work with types in Roslyn. And there is one facility we can get from a compilation, we can get a type by its metadata name. And this is now this I named symbol that we need. I'm putting this blog post in the chat. This is I
Mm.
am referring to this blog post like every other week. This is fantastic. And I will copy this.
Mm-hmm.
And we can use that in order to grab the attribute that we seek.
Okay.
So I'll post this here.
Oh,
And now,
okay.
and this is basically why I have this comment here, because this is, I'm not searching this name by its metadata name. The metadata name, this is how it looks like in metadata. It is the full qualified name. And we'll try to get this attribute type. I call this attribute. But this returns a nullable, because if this type is not found, it's null.
Hmm.
Which means if we don't find this type in our assembly, we can
Mm-hmm.
basically stop. But if we do find it, we want to equal that yes. And now we get an RS10024, which is a warning because we shouldn't equality check Roslyn types such as this I named type symbol via the regular equals overload. However, there is an overload, so the method was
Oh.
correct.
Oh, sorry. Eh.
But there is an additional overload. Okay, I don't see it here, but there is an overload that takes there it is, the symbol equality comparer.
We've had that before. Have we had that before?
Maybe. And the symbol equality comparer now has a default singleton instance, and this is the one that we'll be gonna using. And now the warning has disappeared. So we now have at least the warnings on the equals.
Yeah.
Because we can't really check those Roslyn types directly. We need to do it via this symbol equality comparer.
Okay.
And I guess now, because this any basically returns true, returns a Boolean. So let's return that and see how our tests are doing. We have some syntax errors.
What? Why?
What did I do wrong here? It's interesting.
There's a dot and oh, is this here like assert?
Ooh, excellent, thank you. And they're all green now.
Yay!
Cool. Perhaps one note on the attribute on this lambda, because there is different ways you can write a lambda. So the return type is optional. If we omit that, it tries to infer it, because lambdas, a lot of stuff can be inferred from the lambda. You don't need to explicitly state everything.
Mm-hmm.
And since this equals returns a Boolean, now the compiler understands, okay, this returns Boolean, therefore this lambda returns Boolean, and now fulfills the any. Also, we can omit the type of the arguments. So we could just write data here. And again, the compiler infers the type and knows this is an attribute data. And if we only have a singular argument parameter here, we can then get rid of the braces. And this is how most of the lambdas look like. You just have if it's one parameter, you have just the name, then the goes to arrow, and then having the body.
Okay.
Now, which version do you prefer? The very explicit version or the very inferred version?
It's a very good question. I think the second one looks cooler. So I'm sort of tending towards that because save space and everything. But also, I feel like if I look at it next week, Yeah,
Okay.
the first one will be more readable. I don't know.
How you prefer?
Okay, let's see. Let me think for 2 more seconds, and then I'll give you enable attribute data. Can we keep the second option?
Sure. Then we have, I guess, there is one more method how we could write it. So what you
Okay.
could also do is basically have I think this is called a method group. So what we could have is a method which now fulfills this lambda. So I call it private static. It's pool returning. The name doesn't matter. I call it check attribute. And hold on, this wouldn't work because this wouldn't work because it's not static here because we capture this. So I would need to do it as a local function. So let's write now the same thing that we had previously. Bool returning, I call it check, which gets the, what was it called? Attribute data, and returns that check. Return that. And now we could basically just write check in here. And this is it looks syntactically differently, but semantically it will be the same behavior. Now we don't have an anonymous method. We now have this method group. Well, it would actually be converted. So there is some conversion going on by the compiler. But eventually this will be the same logic. So this is yet another alternative how we can basically pass in delegates to methods. So I'm asking one last time, which one do you prefer?
But is there so? But what is the benefit of this version? Is there a benefit,
No,
or is it just like style?
no.
Because if it's just style,
it's eventually the same. Well,
I'm
it's not.
very
Well, there is a difference, but there is no. That's from a compilation point of view. During runtime, it will be the same behavior. So it's more a style question.
in that case, I do prefer the previous one, unfortunately.
The short version. No, it's so cool. It's so cool.
Yes, but thank you
Then,
for showing like them all.
so we chose it very deliberately because maybe in one session, because you can write code in so many different ways. There's a lot of styling questions. Maybe you now answered one of many styling questions. That there is a facility where we can basically encode our styling preferences into the solution.
Yeah.
So we'll be going to check that out in a future session. But what we need to take care of now is that we have a warning here that this attribute class could be null. Excuse me?
Just ask a question just before we move on from the style thing, like, because
Yes.
obviously, like, I have my own sort of ways to decide it, which is sort of like, okay, do I understand it? Is it readable? And obviously, like, just being aware of not having any like unnecessary stuff there. But like, and then obviously sometimes it's just a gut feeling, like this I think looks prettier or like makes more sense in my brain. But how do you sort of decide with styling, like when you write your code?
I usually like the most explicit way, but this is just my preference. The important part is that within one repository, it should be a similar style so that the code reads fluently and not like if you go to different files, you know that somebody else wrote it, and then it's not that fluent to read if you debug through several methods in several types or in several documents. So as long as it's a style that applies to the entire repository, then it's good.
And why do you have your preference for more explicitly?
Because then I don't need necessarily code highlighting in order to understand what's going on. So if I'm reviewing a pull request, and maybe the pull request tool, for example, GitHub is getting pretty good by it already. So it has a lot of highlighting and searching functionality. But there is other tools that may not be that good, and then it's more difficult to find out what's actually going on if all the types aren't explicitly declared. When I'm new to a code base, when you're familiar with the code base, you know exactly what's going on because you know all the methods and so on. But for a new code base, it's easier to navigate, in my opinion, if you don't have code highlighting. But yeah, that's a very specific thing.
No, that makes sense. Totally. I hadn't even thought of that. Okay, cool. Let's see. Let's look at the warning.
Because this attribute class could be null, so may this, and if this is null, then we will run here into an argument null exception, and we need to avoid that. Now we could write it in two different ways. We either call the equals of this equality comparer. So we could basically use call into this equals,
Yeah.
rather than calling into the equals of this attribute of this interface, because this one is annotated as nullable, so it would accept null for both. Or we have a check, because we could also have a body block here. So again, this is the same. What we had previously is just a shorthand version. There is many ways you can write lambdas. We could do something of an if check and see, hey, if this is null, then return false, or if it's not null, then do the equals check. So which one do you prefer?
Is there any benefit in having the equals check of this attribute class thing?
Eventually, again, I think it will be the same.
Okay,
Well, there
then
may
I would
be.
get rid of it.
I'm not entirely. Let's see. How is this implemented? So the implementation of this equality comparer actually then calls this equals anyway. So it will result in the same. Well, there could be ever so. I think the performance difference here is absolutely neglectable.
In that case, let's get rid of it, right?
So which one do you prefer?
Just taking the normal equals, not this attribute class equals.
So using it from the comparer. So then something like return this dot equals.
Yes.
And then passing in data attribute class and our attribute. Like so?
Yeah, correct.
Then I'll refactor this again to a expression, if this is allowing me to do so. It does not. Is there refactoring for that? No. Okay. Then I'll do it manually. Oops.
Yeah. That solves all our problems. No more warnings.
Well, zero code is bug free, isn't it?
Yeah.
And now maybe from a formatting perspective, maybe I move this any into the new line so that we have it in one screen. And this is now our check whether we have this attribute or we don't. And now I'm wondering, in case I guess we need a unit test for that. In case we don't have the attribute, in case we don't find this attribute, then it will be null. And if this is also null, would it then return true? It shouldn't, but it would. Okay, I'm not thinking of a very, very, very corner case. The fix is to basically do an if check here. If we don't find this attribute, we can't have it. So if this is null, return. And no, not return false. This is a bit of a corner case. I'll write a test for that. And then show it tomorrow.
Yes.
But this is, I think this, I'm not so sure about the implementation. This would take way too much time. I'll show the result tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
And I guess then now let's have a look at our overall tests from this assembly. And now our utilities are all green and our using counter tests are all green. And I think let's have a look at our to-dos of the using counter. Actually, let's see if it still works. If we run the code against the project, against our
Yay!
test project, and it
Does indeed.
still does. Cool. Does it find? I'm wondering if this is accurate. So let's see.
Yeah.
Because here we have our test project.
Mm-hmm.
Now this definitely has some generated files in the behind the scenes. So how many usings should we find? If we have a look at, we have 6 files and all of them have
Okay.
the same usings. So we should have 5 systems, 5 connected generic,
Mm,
5 links, 5 texts, and 5
nope.
tasks. But we have more. We
Well,
have reflection.
and we have
We
7
have
systems.
7 systems. So there is 2 files. There's 2 additional files that we find. And I'm wondering which
Magic.
they are. Where's my mouse cursor? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
There it is. Let's debug. Let's jump into our using counter here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally uncertain which files. I thought we should have them all now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the documents that we find are, well, our 6 classes.
Okay.
Then there is an assembly info. Assembly info and global assembly
Okay.
info and global usings. And here we have some generated files. What is that? Okay, let's see. So the first one, I guess let's do a breakpoint here and here. So the first file, which is the my class,
Yeah.
we aggregate. My class 2 we aggregate, my class 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, what happens with the assembly info? That also gets aggregated. Okay, let's check the assembly info out. Then we have the global usings. The global usings get aggregated, but they should be all global, so they shouldn't really find anything that we shouldn't really have. Yeah, so we're out there already, so nothing is found. Then we have the global usings.g.cs. This should actually be caught by, we continue here, so we don't aggregate. Now this file, this one does get aggregated. Okay, does this change the result? Let's see. We have 666661.
Yep.
We have 76662. Okay, I think we found our villain. And the last one is generated code. So that one gets caught. Okay. So why do we find, let's take a look at the example. Okay, well, I did add this assembly info myself. So this is the system reflection that we get in. Okay. But this one is fine, we could argue. Global usings is empty, so nothing to find here. But this one, generated file, I think this is an obj debug net7, this file. Oi, oi, oi. But we do have auto-generated here. Why does this not trigger? And this is where the system and reflection is coming from, yeah. Ooh, there actually is. It doesn't have the dash.
Good spot. Oh my god.
This is the first time I'm now seeing the auto-generated comment without the dash, actually.
Yes.
So we need to test the dash.
Okay. Fine.
Cool.
Nice. Good spot. Okay.
I never saw this in real life. Okay, I guess we need to duplicate a lot of tests. To make them all. I guess I'll add this later on, or add the additional tests later on. So I say to do complete. So for now, let's go with just one, and say that we also want. Oops. This in here.
Okay.
And I guess this should suffice for now. And when we run the tests, We should have a red,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't. Now we do.
Ah, now we do. Great.
And it should be, yeah, that's the one without the dash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's fix that. I think that's in here, right? This is auto-generated
Okay.
comment trivia.
So can we just, because didn't we originally have like an or here?
Mm,
No, we didn't.
we did indeed, yeah.
Yeah. So can we bring that back?
Yes, we can.
So just here, right?
Yeah.
Or where are the pipes? Where are the pipes?
I'll just mirror what you do above.
Yep. And we need to we need to get the entire line again, right? But then just with out the dash. And I think originally we had it in like this, so it's a little bit more readable, right?
Okay.
That was fun. It was like it was like this multicursor thing, but without the multicursor.
I'm your multicursor.
Yes, my ChatGPT, my multicursor, everything.
And now we do have the additional reflection, but that's
Okay.
coming from the assembly info. That's fine because that's not marked as generated code. That's user code. And we have those 6 from those my class 1 to 6. So it's now we ignore indeed all of the generated code.
Good stuff.
Can you, I was wondering, get full string, because we may be able to optimize something here, because we do call, but do you see a potential performance
Yeah, we don't need to get the
issue?
full string if we don't need the full string, right? No. Underline
No, I was just
node.
wondering, because we actually,
Okay.
well, do you see a potential, well, there is no logical issue, but a potential performance issue?
No. Well,
Because
no.
excuse me, because we do get the full string twice. Now I wanted to have a look at the implementation if this full string, yeah, but we don't see how this is implemented. If this is caching the string internally, then it's cool because it would reuse the same instance and everything is fine. But what if we create this full string? If we create the same string twice, this is a bit wasteful. And maybe the comment says something about that. Returns the full string representation of the trivia. If this trivia is structured trivia, then the returning string will include any leading or trailing trivia. Percent on the structure of the trivia. Full string. So I just don't know.
We could try it out and we'll see, right? Just like,
yeah, well, it's a performance thing. So what we could do is either we could leave it. I guess it's small, or
fine.
we just do this once and then we use the same string that we have in the local field, in the local variable. What you prefer? We could also. Sorry, no, go ahead.
well, I think it's fine like this, to be honest. But
Yep.
like, yeah, if we had time and we like motivated as we are, ambitious, I think we could put it into a variable and.
Well, we can always optimize later. So then we can have a patch release and say, "Ooh, we improve performance."
Yes, good.
So it's functionally working, and now let's have a look at the using counter. So we now do ignore all the generated code.
Woo.
We also refactored these into methods because we will need them later on.
Yes.
Now we would like to check if it's indeed a C# project, because we don't support Visual Basic projects. I guess I'll add a test for that, right? We add a test for that, sorry. So our using counter, I'll just grab this test. Add it at the end. and now say count async Visual Basic. What does it do? Do we want to throw,
Ignores.
or do
Oh,
we want to throw an exception,
yeah. I
or
mean,
do
that
we
would be the
want
cleanest.
to do nothing?
I mean, I think the cleanest would be like when this project is not supported.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if yeah, unless it's like super complicated, I always like that kind of stuff because in my experience, it always comes back to you, and to have as much information as possible as to why something
Mm-hmm.
doesn't do what you expect it to do is, I think, a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
at least in my world. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's we are super strict by throwing, and we could later on
Yes.
easily be more lenient or less strict. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now to the hard part. I don't know how to create a Visual Basic code.
Yeah. That was sort
um,
of my questions. Like, how do you like what? How can we spot it? How can we
I
identify it and throw it?
am uncertain. Let's see. I'm really bad at Visual Basic. Visual Basic example. Maybe can I have an example of like some using directives, but in Visual Basic style. Like something like this. I'm wondering where we can get the template from. I'm just creating a new project. Add new project. Let's create. Yeah, I think I never did this. Visual Basic. And let's create I want to create a console application. Framework. And yeah, sure. And let's just get the program that we get from here. But it doesn't have any imports. Oh.
That's so. What
Cool.
is that? Yeah. How do we spot the difference?
I call this my module. Okay. I guess also let's have a look at so how does a program look like? So the module is program. Then we have a sub, which is main. Okay. It takes args as string. I think that's a string array. I'm really not sure. And then we do a console dot write line hello world.
Oh. Yes.
And then we need to import. Why don't we need to import system? No. Why don't I need this import system here? Okay.
Oh, is it because of the global system? No, we don't have it in global.
Does Visual Basic also support global usings? Let's have a look at the CS project here. I'm opening the CS proj. I really don't know. Does it say something like implicit usings? No. Because this would be the implicit using. Oh, I really don't know, I'm afraid.
So it just doesn't. Doesn't need system. What?
Why don't we yeah, okay, this is unnecessary, but I don't know why. But I think for our example, we do need it. Because we have a very bare bone. We create a project in memory, there is nothing. So I guess this should be now this very simple app. We import system, console the white line. Okay, so here we now have our Visual Basic code. 1, 2, 3. Bloop.
Nice.
And we also need to mark it as Visual Basic. So maybe I quickly create a create VB project async. Oh, let's write it out. Visual Basic.
Mm-hmm.
And let's duplicate this method into Visual Basic. And then we need this one, Visual Basic. And
I think you had
then
yeah. I think
this one.
there was
Excuse me, did I make a mistake?
yeah, the previous one I think there's an I. Yeah.
Indeed.
I was just I was just following you on the live share, and so I didn't fix it because we jumped away. But yeah, now it's fixed. Perfect.
Okay, this is kind of, I guess later on, maybe we move this into different files. We have like a C# project creator and a Visual Basic project creator, Visual Basic project. And this is now ad hoc workspace where we create a project. We have the assembly and the language name will be Visual Basic. We add the document, we create the project, we add net standard reference assemblies, we create a DLL, and we parse options now say Visual Basic parse options. And I don't think, we don't use we need to install this package because we're not using the Visual Basic package.
Okay. Is basic also with capital B? Oh.
Yes, it is.
Just saw it. Okay.
Oops. Visual Basic. So let's go into the CS Proj and let's install this manage NuGet packages, which will be Microsoft.codeanalysis.visual basic. There it is. Yes, please. And now we should be able to import Visual Basic. Okay. And this is now this is Visual Basic code. Okay. I am so unfamiliar with that. Language version. This is now different language version. Okay. So this must be Microsoft.codeanalysis.visual-basic. Yeah, other than we factors in different file, then we don't have this namespace clashes. Language version. I don't know what's my latest language version. Let's do latest.
Yeah.
And now let's see what will happen. I have no idea if this works. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Language version is ambiguous. Okay, because now we have to say here. Do I have a code effecting for that? Yeah, C#.
Nice. Okay.
And we end up with a passing test. No. Oh, that's the wrong. Sorry.
Oh.
This is the right one.
Okay.
Using counter. Visual Basic froze. And we get a not supported. The language Visual Basic is not supported.
That's good. That's good. Isn't that good?
Actually thrown, but it's thrown in our project setup.
Oh, that's
this
not
is not thrown from our. It doesn't enter our production code. Let's debug the test and see where it's throwing. I don't get the. Okay. So it throws here solution. This is not supported. Okay, I'm afraid I'm really unsure how to fix this. I never created a Visual Basic project like this.
Okay, but so
So it seems that this is not supported. But why?
what?
Language names Visual Basic. Ooh, because are we not using the workspace, the Visual Basic workspace APIs? Maybe we are missing. Nah, maybe we're missing another package.
Let's see. Maybe.
Visual Basic workspaces. Because we do need the workspaces to create. I think we need the workspaces to create a workspace. Yeah, maybe that's the problem.
Yeah. Could be.
Woohoo! A different error. That's good.
Perfect.
Now we crash. The verify fails.
The verify. That's
We can't get the diagnostic. So it says unable to cast. Type Microsoft C# to. Ooh. No. Yeah, we're casting to the one compilation options.
okay.
But there's my problem. I created C# compilation options here. Visual Basic compilation options.
Nice.
Okay. And now we get an invalid. That's good because this is now that's not good because we're still not in our request operation is not available because the runtime library function is not defined. Standard module attribute. I don't know what that means. But
okay.
I'm not spitball. Let's change this to a console application because we kind of wrote a console app.
Okay.
Or is there some Visual Basic specific thing that I'm not aware of? Okay. It's not defined. Maybe we need some Visual Basic reference assembly or something because it says that this type isn't found.
Yeah.
But I need to do some. Investigation there. I guess we'll follow up on that also tomorrow. I'll get the project set up right. So this will be a. Where is our tests? No. Oh, here they are.
What?
Yes. So okay.
Okay.
So we follow up on this tomorrow.
Okay.
So let's do the cancellation.
We could do the cancellation token.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know how to do the cancellation?
Absolutely not, but I can totally try.
Perfect.
All right. So where do we what? So should we get a brief over, or should we just remind ourselves what exactly we want to be able to cancel?
So we want to cancel like this operation.
Yeah.
So let's start. I guess.
What does that mean, kind of?
So let's start with a test, I guess.
Okay. Gotcha.
Let's copy this one. No, let's copy a simple one. Let's copy this one. This one will be excellent. And let's say that if we cancel, this should also throw. It should throw a cancellation exception. So if we have this project and now we call this, now what we want to do is to have a cancellation token. And this cancellation token has a construct. The default says it's not canceled, but it also has a constructor where we can pass in, where is it? A Boolean. Yeah, a Boolean to tell whether if it's canceled or not. So let's set this to true. And if we pass in this token, now we would actually expect this to throw. So this should now, how was this working in XUnit? So we now can create a func of, let's say func of using count result. But it's actually async. So it's a func of task of using count result.
Wow. Okay.
And this now should throw. So we put this into a lambda. Now we can say result dot assert dot throws. In our case, we use the throws async. I think in our second episode where we talked about the XUnit, how to test for throwing, we only check the synchronous versions, I think. But this would be the asynchronous versions, and this now expects a func of task. So this is what we got here. And so let's put it in, and we expect it to throw a task cancelled exception.
Okay.
And it doesn't like that because this needs to be awaited.
Okay. But the count async is still not happy.
Yes, because we need to be able to pass this cancellation token.
Okay. So let's just add the parameter here, right? And that is again a cancellation token. It's like a normal type, right? Cancellation token or just token? Yeah, cancellation token. Who knows? Maybe we have more tokens in the future. And so this probably is sort of like a while, right? While this token is not cancelled.
We could do that, but first I would like to run the tests. However, now
run the tests.
All the other tests are not compiling anymore. We have a lot of compiler errors because now we would need to pass a token to every type.
So we need the overload thing. Yes. So we need one option where we have it and one without, right?
Yes, we could either do that because cancellation is usually optional, or since this is a struct, well, it would also be a reference type, but it is a struct. We could also make it optional.
Oh, optional.
And this is what we will see in all the Waslin APIs. So this is the thing I would like to go with, and not have two methods, but use this default argument, because that's similar as the Waslin APIs are written, and also the .NET Core base
class library. Can we just do like a question mark and then it's optional?
No, but you can basically assign. You can assign a default value that should be provided if the method is invoked without a cancellation token.
Yes. I know what happens.
Perfect.
Is null, right?
It can't be null because cancellation token is it's a struct, therefore a value type, and value types can never be null.
Okay. So wait. So if we don't pass it, it's always is. Oh my god. The default is it? Okay.
Default,
so
yes.
I'm just. Oh, it's just I can just write default, or
yes.
I write true or whatever. No,
default.
Okay. Perfect.
Because since this, well, if this was a reference type, we could also have it. Like if we could have a string here, and now if we don't pass a string here, then it will be default, which is null in this case. So because it can be null, we now get a compiler warning. So we should mark it with a question mark, so the warning now disappears.
Okay.
But since this is a value type, it must always have a value. And default in that case would now mean that this struct will be invoked with all its values being set to default. So we can have a look at the fields that we have. We have basically this cancellation token source as a field, which in that case now would be null. And I think that's the only field that we have. Well, we also have, that's the only field that we really have in here. So this struct now has a value where this field is null. But the struct itself can never be null. And this is basically how it works. And now all the other tests where we do not pass in, sorry, wrong file, where we do not pass in a token, they still compile, because what now is actually happening under the hood is the compiler is basically doing that.
Nice.
So we will see at every call site, if we have a look, if we would decompile the code, we would see that each and every call site now the compiler basically fills the default argument that we set here. But we don't need to do this because the compiler does it for us. And we can also provide explicitly one. Where
Cool.
the default one basically means it's uncancelable. And if we run the test, we see it failing because no exception is thrown.
Okay. Because no exception is thrown. Yes, because we expect an exception. Okay, so we need to throw an exception. And we also, so we, because it has this value is cancelled, can be true or false. So I'm thinking if is cancelled is true, then throw a new exception and we can write this exception. But is this just like, is this just like a check that's once, or is it like a while loop? While it's false, continue, and while when true, do something.
Yes, so we could either do it at the entry, but cancellation is cooperative. So both the caller needs to cancel this token, and the callee must observe its cancellation. So if we only check it at the beginning, we couldn't cancel afterwards.
Yeah.
If we would only check it at the end, we couldn't really cancel because at the end it's too late. So what you mentioned earlier, to do it in the loop, that would actually be a great approach.
Okay, so we do it in the for each loop.
So for each document, we can check if it's
okay.
cancelled.
Yes. Okay. Right at the top, is it the first one? Because then this is another else if, right? No.
We could let's see. We can change it later. Let's see how where this goes to.
If yes, good try. If cancellation token cancellation token. Cancellation. Why is it not auto completing me? Cancellation token. I probably have a typo.
No.
Okay, perfect. Dot is cancelled, right? No. Is cancellation requested?
Requested, yes. That means the caller requested cancellation, yeah.
Is true. Then throw throw is cancellation exception. No.
The new, I think I call it the task cancelled exception.
Task can throw new task cancelled exception, right? Throw new exception. And it needs these things, right? Does it? Yes. Great.
So why do we have a problem in line 22?
If wait, let me think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
What we do here is an assignment. We assign true to is cancellation requested. However, cancellation requested doesn't have a setter.
Oh.
So, well, we could also write it outside of this if here. It's still not valid. It cannot be setted. What we're trying to do here is an assignment.
Oh, because I can't compare things. Yes.
Yes. Perfect. And now writing equals true is actually the same as
doing is.
As actually omitting it in the first place. Yeah. We could also write we could also write is true. Yeah, that's again the very same. Or we just omit it in general, because the if already expects a Boolean. So we could basically have something like true in the first place. We don't need to have true equals true. Just true or false. True now means this if block is always entered. False means it's never entered. So we don't need to compare Booleans with another Booleans because they are Boolean already.
Okay, fair enough. Classic.
And unless if it's a nullable Boolean, then the syntax actually could help because it could be null as well. But with regular Booleans, we don't need to compare with true or false. And if we run that, this could now actually, and the test passes.
Great.
So we now support cancellation. An alternative would be there is cancellation token, because this is a common pattern to check for cancellation and then throw. So the cancellation token also has a method for that, and it's called throw if cancellation requested. And if we
That's
take a look,
cool.
if we take a look at this implementation, it basically does the same thing. It
It
checks,
does the
hey, is the
same.
cancellation requested? And then, okay, it doesn't throw a task cancelled exception, but an operation cancelled exception. And that's okay.
nice.
I just assumed the wrong method in our test, because the task cancelled exception is actually deriving from the operation cancelled exception.
Okay.
So let's expect the operation cancelled exception. And then we just have this one line. And still the test should be green. And yet, test was green. And yet another alternative is if we use methods that are truly async. Because, well, our method here isn't really async, but we call an async method. And if we take a look at this async method, now this has exactly the same pattern. Cancellation token equals to default. So what we could do is basically have this, because if this method accepts a cancellation token, eventually they will also have this cancellation check in there. So we could basically use the cancellation check from there, basically pass it in, and our test should still pass, because it's not our code that throws the exception, but this code. And it actually doesn't. Okay. I think because this, we are using, in our test, we have an ad hoc solution, and the ad hoc is all in memory. So there is no file access, and therefore it's not really async.
Okay.
So I guess this is okay. So, well, we could have both, because it's actually we get a little note, we get a little hint here from Visual Studio. Also, why they would do it, or this is actually a Waslin feature that says, hey, forward the cancellation token to this method, which also accepts a cancellation token. And there should also be an auto fix for that. So it just hit that and done.
Nice.
And now we support cancellation. And, well, all of the tests are green except those that we still need to get back on.
We still need to get back on. No, that's fair enough.
And I think then from a count perspective, we are quite done, aren't we? Well, we still want to check if we have no compiler errors. Do we still want to complete that? I think this would be like a quick one, 5 minutes maybe.
If it's a quick one, let's do it. Why not? I'm up for it. Okay, so this is kind of, so what we mean with that comment is obviously like if we have stuff that doesn't compile, we don't want our tool to even do anything, right? We don't even want it to work. We'd be like, oh, fix your code first.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, cool. So this.
Sorry.
Yeah, you go for it. First,
I'll
try the
write
test.
yet another test. Do we want to throw if we have an error?
Yes.
Again. Okay. So
I
I'll
think
just
so,
say,
right? I mean, I you know, like that's the thing. Like, I'm not an expert at anything, but just in my very limited experience, I always sort of really appreciate it if, you know, there's an actual feedback situation going on. So that's why I like exceptions. But I don't know if that's in this case.
Yeah,
because
we can make it. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking if it applies in this case, because no, I think we should throw an exception. Why not?
And yeah, again, if we want to be less strict later on, we can always be less strict.
Yes.
So let's create a project which just has this question mark, which is total invalid C# syntax. And if we call that, we now expect what do we expect? Maybe an invalid operation exception. Maybe we can later on also throw our own exceptions.
Yeah, that'd
But
be
for now, I
cool
kind of
as well.
like to use that and want to test and see it fail because it probably throws nothing. And it fails because no exception was thrown. Cool.
Mhm.
So now we need to implement the check. I think we have written this basically somewhere already, if you can recall.
Um, no, what?
We
Why?
basically wrote it in our setup code already. So this is what we do when the verify here.
Verify. Oh,
We need the compilation,
uh-huh.
then get the diagnostics from the compilation and check for the errors and throw if there is any.
Okay. So we just basically need exactly the same.
I guess so. So I'll just copy that.
Yeah.
Later on, we'll factory it into a separate method to make it reusable. But for
Mm-hmm.
now, let's put it in to get the test screen into the using
So
counter.
that's.
I'll just paste it at the bottom so that we have it available.
Mm-hmm.
And now we need to get a hold of the compilation.
Okay. And where is the compilation?
I'm not entirely sure. I would not go exploring. I don't think it's on this compilation unit here. It's a compilation unit. It doesn't have the compilation. Where's the compilation unit syntax? So it's the root, but this doesn't have any diagnostics, does it? Oh, it does. Maybe we use that one.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Or is it as simple as just replacing this with the compilation unit syntax? Huh. I didn't know
Easy.
that. Okay, cool. Okay. So
Perfect.
we're already there. So we just need to call verify on the compilation syntax, and that's it.
Okay. Sorry. We need to call verify on the compilation
Unit syntax. Yeah.
unit syntax. Compilation unit syntax. I'm looking at stuff and I can't read it. Where is it? Is it where you are? Here?
Yes.
So wait. So we get it? No. Wait. Okay. Sorry. I'm confused. So like verify. Compilation unit syntax, right? Compilation unit. Compilation. Compilation unit. Why does it not? There it is. Okay. And then sort of if
I think that's all right already because
it already throws the
that you wrote
exception down
previously.
there.
Yeah, so we get
If
the diagnostics. If we have any, we also throw the invalid operation exception.
yeah, cool, amazing.
So let's see if this is passing. And it is. Cool.
Woo!
So our counter is complete.
Dim. This is my countess complete dance.
I also need a count is complete dance. I'll come up with the fixes for the to-dos that we have, and also
Yes.
for the count is complete dance. I shouldn't have said this. I'll regret this tomorrow.
Yeah. I will definitely hold you to that tomorrow.
Okay.
There is no way out now. You're trapped. Okay, cool. So that was actually really good progress today.
Translation token.
So thank you for that. That was really cool. And I suppose, yeah, the rest of like we're gonna look at the globalizer tomorrow. And in the meantime, if you wanna sort of, I don't know, keep in touch, give us suggestions about like our content, our show. If you just want to see like what we're up to next, please give us a follow on LinkedIn. We also always post sort of like what's, when we're going to stream next, what the topics are going to be, and also just like fun content that just comes to our minds. So hit us a follow if you want to connect. We usually at this point obviously recommend things to watch in the meantime, I recommend you come back tomorrow and watch us. Um, we have, yeah, I'm really excited to start with the globalizer. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and I would love to do that with you tomorrow at 5 o'clock UTC. And yeah, anything left to say, Stefan?
No, that
And
was anticlimactic.
in that case, I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. And suppose we'll be back.
We'll be back indeed.